Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
You find yourself in the studio with no prior experience on how to mic up the drums. Sure, Nils says. There's no federal law that tells you or will prosecute you for miking up the drums in a wrong manner. But it could be very nice to have a basic understanding of how it works when you're miking up your drums to get a tight sound off the get-go. So here's a simple, quick way how to do that.
Hello, Bless.
With us today we have our special guest, Mr. Nils, pro sound engineer, expert in this field, here to show us how to do just that. Let us go.
Yeah, man. First thing worth noting is that the room will make the most wondrous impact on the sound of your drums. The more hard reflective surfaces, thus more reverberation, equals boomier and muddier drums. This here goddamn studio is very well treated, the walls absorb the reflections and the sonics are quite muted. I like it that way, it will make the drums sound tight and funky. 1 minute reverb? Not so much. All we have to work with today are 6 mics, 4 Shure SM58 dynamic cardioid pattern microphones, and 2 Shure SM86 condenser cardioid pattern microphones. We gotta make it work nah, I'm say? These are actually mostly used for vocals. I will recommend other microphones for each stage. Preferred microphones for kick drums are dynamic mics with large diaphragms. You can stick that fucker really far inside if you want a more apparent attack. Point the mic toward the beater about 2 to 3 inches away from it. The further away from the beater you are, you get a less sharp transient. That will give you a more rocky sound. On the contrary, I like placing it at this distance and a bit offset from where the beater is to get a thicker sound. You can also place a pillow or blanket inside to get a shorter reverberation time and a tighter kick drum. A cardioid pattern mic is a must when recording snares. The SM57 is a fave among many. The key here and for every single drum except for the overhead micing is to isolate the drum as much as possible on the recording. We don't want the sound of the hi-hat to bleed in too much. Place the mic with the diaphragm pointed directly at the foreskin, now intoxicated head clothing. For miking the hi-hat, you can use a dynamic mic for a thrashier sound or a condenser mic with a small diaphragm for a brighter sound. Point it straight down directly at the hi-hat about 3 to 4 inches above it. The brightness of its tone is unique so the placement is less important. We can do more in the mix by simply isolating the higher frequencies in a worst-case scenario. You can either mic the mounted toms up with 1 or 2 microphones. If you're using one mic like I am, place it about 4 to 6 inches away from the toms in the middle of them. If you're using 2 mics you can get closer, place it 1 to 3 inches away from the foreskin, near the rim, pointing at the foreskin. The angle can range from closer to the rim to closer to the middle of the foreskin. Dynamic microphones give the best result. If you have a third drum you can use a similar method for the floor tom. We're just gonna let the overhang take care of that. For the overhead mics which we use to pick up the whole set and get a fuller sound, I prefer 2 large or small diaphragm condenser mics to give a nice brightness to the drum set. Ribbon mics are radical too. Place the mics about 6 feet apart and 1 to 3 inches above the cymbals and try to pick up the whole shebang. You can mic the cymbals individually too if you have the option. In that case place them about 6 inches above each cymbal. Small diaphragm condenser mics capture its frequencies well. One very sexy tip for you is to make sure the drummer plays the cymbals a little lighter than he would if he wasn't in a studio situation. That will give more headroom for the overall drum sound since the cymbals are so fucking loud sometimes.
Thank you, Nils.
Thank you, come guest.
I don't know about you, but I sure learned a fuckload today. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell below. It's very important.
Nice clothing.
Maybe you like my new sweater. See more about it soon. Become an astronaut if you like that shit. And also, stay on the lookout for the dangerous sound kit coming in a couple of soon. Okay, bye-bye.